Former President Donald Trump is back in a New York City courtroom to watch his former lawyer and longtime fixer, Michael Cohen, take the stand for a second consecutive day.
Now, Cohen is testifying in the civil fraud case against Trump. Yesterday, they really faced off one-on-one. Cohen accused Trump of fraud, saying Trump directed him to balloon his net worth and inflate the value of his properties. But Trump's legal team has attacked Cohen's credibility after he served prison time for lying to Congress.
CBS News reporter Graham Cates joins us now from outside the courthouse. Graham, what did Michael Cohen have to say in court today?
Today has been a really intense back and forth between Trump attorney Alina Habba and Michael Cohen. It's been going on for hours. And you mentioned it, they're attacking his credibility. They have been drilling down the way Cohen has shifted from being someone who is extremely loyal to former President Trump to someone who has kind of made a career at this point out of criticizing him. And they're really hammering in on, what's really interesting about this is we're about a block away from when earlier this year Trump was indicted in a criminal case. And Cohen is the key witness in both cases, and there were several times where the questioning seemed to target both cases to the point where a lawyer for the Attorney General actually objected at one point and said this questioning is bleeding into a parallel case. They talked about an attorney named Robert Costello, who was put forth to the criminal grand jury before Trump was indicted, and tried to discredit Cohen there. They talked about an LLC that Cohen founded that's central to the allegations in that criminal case. So they're not only trying to attack his credibility as it relates to this civil fraud case, but it seems like they're trying to get at a lot of the allegations in one of Trump's criminal cases just a block away from here. And to that point, two of Trump's criminal lawyers are in the court with him today, and 4 members I counted of District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office were in the gallery watching as well.
Wow. And it's just fascinating to watch someone who was former President Donald Trump's attorney, his fixer, one of his attack dogs on news networks, now turning against him as lawyers in the Georgia case also flip on the former president. But his appearances, Trump's appearances, have been infrequent in this trial, but it's significant that he is showing up to essentially watch Cohen. Yeah. Talk to us about how he's reacting to Cohen's testimony and watching it in the room.
Today is a big difference in terms of that from yesterday. Yesterday, they didn't really seem to make much eye contact. Trump was kind of staring ahead at this monitor where there's a live feed of the transcript for most of the day. But today, he's really watching intently as his attorney really hammers away at Cohen's credibility. He seems really, really engaged, really animated throughout Cohen's testimony. And he actually brought some of that animation out into the hallway moments ago during a break where he criticized, or he appeared to maybe criticize how the case is playing out, including a clerk of the judge who he had been previously told not to talk about. And as soon as he came back into the courtroom, the judge brought it up. He said, "I just read in a news report that you seem to mention my clerk, and I'm taking it under advisement. I'm considering if I should relay further sanctions against you." And of course, one of Trump's attorneys said, "You got that all wrong. He was talking about someone else."
Interesting stuff. I want to hear more about what Cohen's saying, though, because for people who aren't following this as extensively as you are, Graham, Trump's defense team obviously attacking Cohen's credibility, so the prosecution must think that he has something very substantial to say in order to put him forward. In what ways is his testimony actually leading the jurors towards what the prosecution's hoping for?
Sure. A key part of his testimony yesterday under questioning from the New York Attorney General's office was that he said that he helped falsify these statements that were recorded Trump getting some pretty good loan rates, and that he did it at Trump's direction. He said that Trump would choose an arbitrary number that was supposed to be his net worth, his value, and that Cohen and another executive named Alan Weisselberg were then tasked with kind of going through Trump's books and making it look like Trump was worth however much Trump wanted to say he was worth. And that's really core to this case. The Attorney General is saying that Trump and 2 of his sons and their company falsified Trump's net worth and the values of many of their properties in order to get really favorable terms on loans and insurance, and ultimately benefited themselves to the tune of at least $250 million.
All right, we'll see what the judge decides when this wraps up. Graham Cates, thank you very much.